Week 1 of the 2022 NFL season. It had comebacks, it had shootouts, it had a little bit of everything. By most accounts, it was a pretty exciting week, but according to this Instagram post, it was actually the closest Week 1 in NFL history. Well, sort of. According to this post, 7 games were decided by 3 or fewer points, the most of any Week 1 in NFL history. But that's just one perspective. I wanted to figure out for myself how this Week 1 stacked up against every single Week 1 in NFL history. I hope you're excited because the results of what I found are pretty interesting. My first step was to figure out a better way to gauge excitement than just 3-point games. It was a start, but I wanted to be a little bit more accurate. After all, lots of the most exciting games aren't within a field goal. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how to start this chart, and I think I've got a pretty good idea. The problem with this post is that it doesn't account for, lots of exciting games that are over the 3-point margin of victory. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the initial idea of counting 3-point games, but I'm also, on top of that, going to count 1-score games, or games within 8 points. Basically what I was going to do was give games within 3 a score of 100, and games within 8 a score of 50. That way, most of the exciting games of a particular Week 1 will be taken into account. Okay, now that I've figured out how I'm going to do it, I have to start the hard part, which is going through every single NFL Game 1 in history and, scoring it based on my system. This is going to be not very fun. And go through it I did. It took a long time and a lot of mental math, but the end result was worth it, and I ended up with a spreadsheet I was pretty happy with. Okay, so I've gone through every Game 1 in history, and I came out with this spreadsheet. I have my chart. I feel pretty good about it, but I'm going to go to bed now because I'm pretty tired. That took a couple of hours, so I went to bed, happy at the preliminary work I'd done. This is the chart I came up with after lots of number crunching. In addition to scoring every Week 1, I also had to correct a few problems. For example, back in 1972, there were less NFL teams than there are today, so one really close game back then would have been more exciting than the same game today. To fix this issue, I decided to count the average closeness of a week rather than its total. That way, older weeks wouldn't be disadvantaged just because there were fewer teams in the league. Anyway, after making all these calculations, this was the chart I came up with. On the bottom is the year, and on the left is the average closeness of a game during that Week 1. So now that we have this chart, you're probably wondering, was this the best Week 1 in NFL history? And that's exactly what I asked myself. Alright, so I've got this chart now, and the question is pretty simple. Was this year's Week 1 anything special? And the answer is actually pretty crazy to me. I totally wouldn't have guessed it, but there are actually 5 weeks that the chart is telling me were better weeks than this year. We're going to narrow it down to 3, because 3 weeks in particular stood out to me. The first was Week 1 of 1999. This game featured 5 super close games and 4 regular close ones. In one of them, the Titans beat the Bengals on a game-winning field goal as time expired. This Titans team would go on to one of the most magical playoff runs ever, with the highlight coming in the wild card round.
He's got 40, something. 50, he's got it. 40, he's got it. 20, 10, he's got it. End zone. Touchdown Titans. There are no flags on the field.
They would even make the Super Bowl and come within inches of beating the St. Louis Rams.
In regulation. It is caught by Dyson. Can he get in? No, he cannot.
This game sort of ended up being foreshadowing for the insane season that the Titans were about to have. Another game was the Cardinals versus Eagles, which ended in one of the most dramatic finishes I've ever seen.
2 minutes to play. Eagles are the 3rd and 4. Peterson for Brian Finneran, and actually they almost can let the clock tick out, except he fumbles it into the air, and the Swami's cousin Kwame Lassiter picks it out of the air 31 yards, and the Cards have a shot. Under a minute to go, Plummer. He can do this, Tom, the naked bootleg.
Well, Jake Plummer has the speed to get around the corner, and I love the fact he doesn't go out of bounds. You have to knock him out of bounds.
Chris Jackie just squeezes one through for the winning field goal, and so a 24-6 deficit is turned into a 25-24 Arizona Cardinal opening day win on the road, despite the fact the Eagles, for them, had an offensive explosion.
But arguably the best game of the week came in the season opener when the Cowboys took on Washington. Down with 4 minutes remaining, the Cowboys attempted to make a comeback against one of their most hated rivals.
4 minutes remain in the 4th quarter. Darryl Pounds is working on Michael Irvin out here one more. Cowboys on the 37, and they're going for Irvin, and the flag is down, and Irvin makes the catch. It's a touchdown. Well, when you need a play to be made, he still goes back to the playmaker to get the first down. And here is Troy Aikman, and his pass to the end zone, and it has caught the last 2 touchdown passes by Troy Aikman. What a comeback by the Cowboys, who are trailing by 3 touchdowns coming into the 4th quarter. Play action. Oh, he's got him wide open. He's got Rocket Ismail. He's got it. He'll score, and the Cowboys will win. 76 yards. Ends the game in overtime.
So the cool thing actually about this Cowboys game is it makes me feel really good about the way I scored, or like I developed my scoring system, right? Because if we were just counting games within 3, this would have never come up on my radar, and I would have never been able to show you guys this incredible game, and I would have never seen it. So I feel pretty vindicated for doing it the way that I did it. But that was just one of the weeks that stood out to me. Another was 2016, just 6 seasons ago. Yeah, so I'm looking into 2016 right now, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 3-point games. And it looks like 4 of them were decided within 1 point, which is totally insane. And there's 4 other games that were within a score. So this is a totally crazy week. One interesting game was Patriots-Cardinals. You might remember this as the 28-3 season, where the Patriots went on to win the Super Bowl against the Falcons. But what you might have forgotten is that Tom Brady was actually suspended for the first 4 weeks as a result of the Deflategate scandal, which led to 2 games of Jimmy Garoppolo and 2 games of Jacoby Brissett. The Patriots went 3-1 in those 4 games, missing by far their best player, which led to both Jimmy G and Brissett being picked up as starters on other teams. As I'm making this video, they're actually both current starters, as their franchise's preferred QBs are out. 6 years after this week, we're still feeling the ripple effects of this Patriots team. As for the actual game, we saw 2 touchdowns from Larry Fitz and 3 Stephen Gostkowski field goals, including the game winner at 3:44. Towards the end of the game, the Cardinals were driving down the field on a pair of Fitz catches, but ultimately came up short with a missed field goal. Another interesting game from this week was the season opener, Broncos-Panthers. To start the season, we had a rematch of last year's Super Bowl, something that's rarely seen. The game itself was decided on another missed field goal, but it's interesting enough because of the matchup. There was a lack of cool plays, admittedly, but it was still a nail-biter by virtue of the score and the context. Without a doubt, the crowning jewel of this week was the Raiders-Saints game during the noon block. I'll just show you the highlights because words probably don't do it justice.
Zone catch. Yes, Amari Cooper converts. Gets rid of it. Willie Snead. The ball's out. Can a Saint get there first? Yes. Reeves throws. End zone. Touchdown, Cadet. Catch made. Seth Roberts spinning into the end zone. Touchdown, Raiders. Going for 2. Carr for Crabtree. He has it. He held on to it. For the win from 61.
So 2016 was a psycho week, but it isn't number 1 on my chart. Number 1 goes to 1979, the most exciting opening week in NFL history. Out of 14 total games, 10 of them were within 1 score, and 6 of them were within 3 points. That means if you flicked on a random game during the week, you had a 71% chance to tune into a great one. The average score of this week was 54, the highest of any week 1 ever. It beat out 2022 by 4 points, and just barely edges out 2016, 2013, and 2002 for the top spot on this list. On top of that, there were 3 games that went to overtime, which, as far as I can tell, is the most in NFL history. There are 2 such games I want to show you. The first is Browns-Jets.
Michaels looking on for the far sideline. He's going to get in. It is tied up. Normally, Robinson holds. This game, Briscoe has held. He misses to the right side. We are tied.
Ricky Feature, 83, making the catch. He's carrying that ball in the wrong hand. It should be in the other hand, away from pressure. He did it.
11.
He did it.
It is there from the 11, 21 yards away. 2 missed extra points. Then Pat Leahy with a 21-yard field goal and the lead. Deep far side. It is tipped. He's caught. Inbounds. And then out, stopping the clock for the tie and overtime. Cockcroft, it is up. It is good. The 44 yards and the win. It is up. It is no good.
He's on the bench. An excellent kicker. They've got time to do it.
Side throws.
Wide open. He's got him.
Dave Logan. And they'll do it right now. They don't want to wait. 27 yards. And the victory. Logan holding. Cockcroft. Kick is there. It is good. From 27 yards away. 14 minutes and 45 seconds into overtime.
The second game of this week is Patriots-Steelers, which featured some guys you might actually have heard of, like Terry Bradshaw and Franco Harris.
Following the delay of game. Bradshaw again with a lot of time in there. Oh my God! It is. Oh, there's the one. First down at the 17th. Not coming back, going up. First and 10. Bradshaw wide open. I'll be darned. How did he get Sidney Thornton? Lots of time. This is Sidney Thornton. Look at this big man. Now on fourth down. Thornton short of the first down. Well, and what pressure to put on a youngster in his first pro football game. This is Matt Barr, the 6th round draft pick from Penn State. 61,000 fans are still here and they're on their feet. Right through the middle. I think he's got it. You betcha. Right. The rookie from Penn State has won the game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Matt Barr, 41-yard field goal.
Towards the end of the broadcast for Browns-Jets, the scores for the week flashed across the screen. The commentators noticed and shared their thoughts on it.
This is downtown Flushing, New York, as the sun has set here. As we look
Well, that's a tight game. 9-7, Miami over Buffalo. That surprised a lot of people, I'm sure.
There's another one.
Yeah, and I think Dallas had to come from behind to win that football game.
A lot of close ball games.
That's more
today.
points, I think, than Atlanta scored in the whole preseason.
In a passing remark, one of the commentators mentioned that there were a lot of close ones this week. Little did he know this innocuous game he was watching capped the most exciting Sunday in NFL history. And there's our answer to the beginning of this video. 2022 was likely not the greatest week 1 ever. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter, because in the grand scheme of things, the longer the list of seasons grows, the bigger our catalog gets, and the more fantastic storylines we have to look back on. If you like this video, you'll love this one where I talk about another super interesting football chart. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.